CTV News with Michael O'Byrne and Leanne Cusack.
A single-car crash on the Queensway at the 174 split claims a life.
We know how much you appreciate legal advice, especially free legal advice, and we're lucky enough to have Dave Hollingsworth on the line for you in a very short while. But before we actually get to your calls, and we will do that at 613-750-1211 or 1-888-750-1211, we want Dave to explain a case that he touched on several months ago, but you've actually just won the appeal, and it's a dynamic case that covers a lot of territory. I'm going to get you to recap it because there are liability and insurance issues involved.
Right, yeah, well, when we were talking about it, it's a case that involves the Occupier's Liability Act, and that's basically when you injure yourself on somebody's property. And this was a tragic case about a young woman who had been living out west. She came back to Ontario to see her parents and her brother who had been away. She was staying at home for a couple of weeks, and she was doing yoga on a second-story balcony. The balcony railing gave way, and she fell, and she was rendered paraplegic. And what the issue was, she made a claim under her parents' homeowner's policy. The insurance company denied it, and in any event, we brought the case to court.
And they denied it because they said that she was part of the family.
Exactly. They said she was living in the household at the time. We argued that she was visiting, and the court agreed with us that she was in fact visiting, not living there. And then we went to the Court of Appeal in Toronto, and they agreed with us there. So it was a nice ending to a tragic story, for sure.
And I mean, it's tragic, so tragic, because she is a paraplegic. You said she was a very active, dynamic young gal, yoga instructor.
Yep, yoga instructor, outdoors person, very active, and her goal, of course, is to be to do those things again as soon as possible. To regain that mobility. Absolutely.
So that's interesting because it does touch on liability issues. We're going to touch on those when we get to the phones as well, I am certain. This spring, when we talk winter, we were talking ice, and we were chatting about Christmas parties and host liability.
Absolutely.
You end up getting phone calls at different times of year when there's an issue or an accident, and they relate to things like?
Sure. Well, you know, the spring isn't all crocuses and daffodils, Leanne. There are dangers on our roads in the form of potholes. There's sand that accumulates, that becomes slippery, glare, so the roads become dangerous. There are more cyclists, runners, rollerbladers, pedestrians are out and about. We have to be careful for them. And for the more rural folks, time to put away those snowmobiles and time to take out the jet skis, because there are a lot of springtime snowmobile accidents cutting across lakes, and they don't quite make it. So lots of hazards.